What's going on, everybody? It's good to see you guys, and welcome back to the channel. As you know, I cover electric cars, gaming, movie reviews, TV shows, stuff like that. Today we're going to talk about something which I spoke to you guys about last year. Last year was before the launch of the new consoles, the Xbox Series S and X and the PlayStation 5. Now there's four consoles in there: Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PlayStation 5, and PlayStation 5 Digital. Now, over 70% of the games these days are purchased via digital sales. So less than 30%. Yeah. So 3 out of every 10 of us are walking into your local stores and buying games over the counter. Obviously, some people might blame lockdown for that and the pandemic and whatever, but these things are happening way before that happened. People were buying digital games at the dawn of the Xbox 360 era in 2010, 2011. And remember, Xbox, people say that they made the mistake. Yes, they botched their launch. They made a real meal of it because of Connect and everything else. But the concept actually worked. The concept of having a console that was always on, and in that respect, you had something that you would use to download games digitally. Now, Sony, I remember Sony taking a piss when said, if you want to borrow your games to somebody, all you've got to do is this. And one of the people handed a game over to another person, and everybody laughed at it, and everyone was laughing at Microsoft at E3, and everybody went out and bought a PS4, and the rest is history. Now, since then, Xbox One have made a major comeback with 2017's Xbox One X, which was the world's most powerful console over the PlayStation Pro. And since then, Microsoft have gone from strength to strength, and their plan of an online only console has bared fruition not just on their platform, but also on Sony's PlayStation platform. There's very few games that you will play which are going to be offline only. In fact, some of the biggest games, Call of Duty, Destiny 2, PUBG, Fortnite, all of those games, GTA 5, all of those five games are online only. And you need a constant internet connection, which is an always on console, which is what Microsoft talked about all them years ago. So who's laughing now? So to bring home what this topic is all about, this is about where Sony is losing the console war. So you guys have always defined console war with console sales, sales of how much consoles you're actually selling. And Sony have been fantastic in that regard for the last generation. And the generation before, as you know, it was the Xbox 360, which was the dominant force, and then Nintendo Wii was the dominant force, and PlayStation 2 before that. So it's been a fair bag with everybody. I know you meet a lot of people that only talk about PlayStations, but in fact, PlayStations have not always won the console wars. There's been pigs and troughs, ups and downs from all the other companies. So what we're seeing now is when Microsoft started talking about changing the game, it was their vision of how gaming should be in the future. And this is where right now, people like me understood this 4 or 5 years ago, but a lot of gamers didn't. And now we're starting to see a pattern where a lot of PlayStation gamers are buying Xbox consoles. So I'm going to explain to you why that's happening. Why that's happening is, first of all, it's not nothing to do with the PlayStation badness. It's got nothing to do with dogging out Sony. Yeah, this has got to do with the state of play of what gamers want. Gamers want games in the same way that movie fans want movies. So if you want movie and TV shows, what do? You get an Amazon's Prime subscription, a Disney Plus subscription, Crunchyroll for anime, and a Netflix subscription. So that gives you an entire choice of libraries of on streaming devices where you can watch movies, anime, TV shows, cartoons, whatever, on your mobile phone, on your tablet, on your PC, on your games console, anything you like. And those streaming services are now overtaking the likes of satellite, digital, cable, and all that, those other stuff. People are canceling those subscriptions, and they are subscribing to these low cost, always on streaming services. So last year, I said to you guys, Sony is going to lose out in this generation because the PS5 is just a console. And right now we know it's very difficult for you to pick up an Xbox Series X or S or a PlayStation 5 console. Here's where Microsoft are currently winning the console war. Xbox is a service. PlayStation is a console. That's how Microsoft are selling it. So if you want a PlayStation, guess what? You have to sit and you have to lay back and wait until you can buy a console. And as we know, the project for this year is there may not be any PlayStations at all. With Microsoft, you can sell your service, because that's your anaconda. You can sell your service to anybody literally who wants the game. Now, before we talk about that service, we'll talk about who Microsoft are looking to sell to. So if PlayStation 4, you had over 100 million gamers. Great, brilliant. That's fantastic figures. Don't knock it. The reason why I predicted that they were going to lose this console war is because there are 8 billion people on the planet. And there are currently, wait for it, 2.4 billion gamers gaming on various different devices. Not consoles, mobile phones, PCs, and tablets. So Microsoft, that is their base. That is their market. As we speak, Xbox Game Pass is being rolled out to millions and millions and millions of people. So they're on the uprise. That is what Microsoft are selling. As from next year, you'll be able to buy Sony televisions, which are OLED TVs or HD TVs, 4K TVs, with Xbox Game Pass built in. So you won't even need a console. So you've gone from having a console to just having a phone, having a tablet, having a PC, to now just having a television. Just go out there and buy a brand new TV. And how many of you guys still have 1080p TVs and have yet to actually buy a 4K TV? So a lot of people are going to be using Xbox Game Pass. It's already on Stadia. It's available on Nintendo Switch. The new handheld console by Valve, which they're bringing out for Steam, is also going to have Xbox. Everything is going to have Xbox Game Pass, and you'll be able to stream any games you want. You'll all be able to play Halo. You don't need a console. This is something which Microsoft are good at. Remember when I told you guys, Sony's a hardware company, Microsoft is a software company. Software companies is where they've been able to make trillions. So as we know, in terms of being one of the richest companies in the world, they are forward thinking in their way of how they will structure gaming. And that has worked for PCs, it's worked for gaming, and it's something that everybody is now starting to open their eyes to. So where is Sony going wrong? Sony has PlayStation Now, which is a very limited service, limited backward compatibility, limited to 720p. They're working on bringing it up to 1080p. But the fact is, it's limited. And they don't really have what Microsoft have in terms of their indie games. There's a few on there, but it really isn't a platform for indie games that is as big as Microsoft's program. Another thing that's happening with Sony is they're splitting off their PlayStation Vita, PSP, and their PlayStation 3. So all of those online services are going to be gone. We're also seeing exclusives like the MLB exclusive for baseball, and we're seeing things like Horizon Dawn, a big massive franchise, which are moving to PC. So there used to be a thing where people used to say, I'll buy my PlayStation to play PlayStation games, and I'll buy my PC to play PC and Xbox games. Now, you'll be able to buy PC and play PlayStation games. So you don't even need a PlayStation. But the fact of the matter is Sony's market share is dwindling, and their offering is getting weaker. And that's where Sony are struggling. So the purpose of this video is really to make you guys aware of why this is happening. Because I'm still speaking to people that are saying, oh, I'm going to buy a PlayStation 5. I don't like Xbox. Do you actually really understand Xbox's offerings? Xbox now have a total of 23 software in-houses. Before they bought Bethesda, they had about 14, 15. But now they own literally every IP from Oblivion to Fallout, to Doom. They own all of that IP. So they're going to get all those exclusives, and as time goes on, I know Sony still has some licenses to have a few games on their platform, but as time goes on, those games won't be on Sony's platform. So this is kind of what the PlayStation 2 did and the PlayStation 1. This is kind of what Sony did to the industry a decade ago. They curbed the industry by buying properties. So if you want to play GTA, if you wanted to play WWF, it was called WWF those days, not WWE. If you wanted to play wrestling games, you needed to have a Sony console. And I think they had the Call of Duty at one point as well. So it was pretty much where they was suffocating the market to the point where all of these people that were playing FIFA and Madden, and because at one point those games wasn't available on the Sega Dreamcast. So I think Panasonic 3DO had some Electronic Arts games because of Trip Hawkins. But at the time that we were speaking, Sony was the only games that you could play all those devices. So that's why Sony has made a big name for itself, because over the years they bought the gaming rights to literally everything and gave gamers no choice in terms of which console you wanted to buy. Me, I still went and bought a Dreamcast because I love my arcade games. Still had a PlayStation, but I went out and still bought competitive consoles because I wanted the diversity of gaming. But what we're seeing now is it's almost like what Sony did to the market has come back to bite them, because now Microsoft are buying up everything. So all the games, I know a lot of Sony fans are crying about it, but that's exactly what Sony did back in the day. So it's almost like an about circle is coming on now. So you're going to have this Game Pass system, which is going to provide you with hundreds of games. All the first party games are included. So if you have a PlayStation, you got to pay 60, 70. I know Sony raised the price of their games, didn't they? So you got to pay big dollars for all their first party games. God of War, Horizon, Uncharted, all these games. Yeah, you got to pay big dollars for them. But if you're on Xbox, you don't have to pay for anything. All you do is put your subscription, $10 a month, and all the games are on there. So if you buy 2 first-party Sony games, that takes you up to 120, 130 quid. If you have 2 games come out on Game Pass per year, which Microsoft is saying it's going to be up to 4 to 6 first-party titles coming out per year, but with just 2 of them, you've actually paid for the service. So everything else is just gravy. And right now, we've seen releases like Outriders. Outriders came out, brand new game from Square Enix, and PlayStation owners had to buy it. I've been playing it for the last 3 months on Game Pass. I didn't buy the game. And I've finished the game, I've clocked the game around, I've got top stats on all 4 characters. But I've enjoyed the game and I've moved on to GTA. And GTA is also on Game Pass for free. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it, that developers are starting to see a lot of revenue through Xbox Game Pass as well. Because those people who have a PlayStation and didn't buy Outriders didn't bring in any revenue. But for those people on Xbox who played Outriders, try it before you buy it, they have seen a lot more revenue streams from in-game activities and from buying the game as well, because try before you buy. So developers are starting to see huge amounts of profits from Xbox Game Pass. Rockstar, who've made GTA, have got GTA 5 up on there, and they are selling a huge amounts of in-game currency, as we know, shark cards they're called. And all of that is because the wealth and thousands of Xbox users are actually buying stuff in the game. So while Xbox is giving the game away for free, Rockstar are still making revenue on the game because of all the in-game stuff that they're buying. So this is a win-win for developers, it's a win-win for gamers, and it's a win-win for Microsoft, because you don't have to sell any consoles. So guys, this is the reason what I talked about last year. Last year when I explained it to you guys, I don't think some of you really got it. But now you're probably understanding what I'm saying. This is where Sony is going to lose out. And in fact, guys, look, it doesn't even matter if Sony sell more consoles than Microsoft, because it's not about consoles. It's about selling a service. And Microsoft has something which they're getting paid for every single month of every year. That money for Game Pass is coming through every single month. Whereas if you're a Sony gamer, you might buy a game 1 month and you might not buy a game for 3 months or 6 months or maybe even a year. So with Sony, you're lacking that constant revenue stream. It's just not there. With Microsoft's Xbox, it's constantly there, and it's constantly growing and growing and growing and growing. And what they're doing with this money, this is important. What they're doing with this money is twofold. Number one, they're using that money to invest in buying companies. So they're buying more companies, gaining more IP and first-party properties, which are attracting more gamers. Two, what they're doing is they're saying to companies like Square Enix, who releasing brand new games like Outriders, and Destiny with Bungie, all the Destiny DLCs for Destiny 2 are on Xbox Game Pass, so you don't even have to purchase them anymore. What they're doing is they're paying these companies millions of pounds to say, can you put your game on Game Pass for 2 or 3 or 4 months? And once that agreement is made, it attracts more gamers, which gives the developers more revenue, and it's just a constant rolling sausage machine, yeah, which is generating cash flow. And that's where it's paying for itself. The more games they have, the more revenue they make, the more IPs that they can create. And with Sony, it's just not happening. It really is just not happening for Sony. They're stuck in this model that they've had with the PS2, which they had with the PS3, and the PS4, and now the PS5 is basically the same thing. It's the same model recycled over and over again. There's nothing innovative about what's happening with the PlayStation brand. And as we said with the Blockbuster, if you don't move forward, you're standing still. If you're standing still, you're falling behind. That's what's happening with the PlayStation brand. So guys, any questions that you have, leave them in the comment section below. That's me, guys, and just an update of why I think Sony are failing and why a lot of people now are going in and buying Xboxes. That's my thoughts on the situation at this current time. Speak to you guys later, man. Peace. Right back at you. Talk to you in the next one.